Welcome to a Stones River Watershed Association video journal.
I'm Warren Anderson. I've been a master gardener since '01. I helped to start to build this rain garden, and ever since it's been built, it's done nothing but get bigger. And it's gotten bigger because it's handling a lot of drain water. And you can see, we started out with a berm here in front. We now have 2 extra berms in on this to hold back water. The rocks are big simply because we've got a lot of water running through here. If Josh turns around and looks back, he can see a 1-acre parking lot. People always ask me a question. This is particulates from the asphalt. The perception is it's toxic because it's oil, but do you see plants growing in it? I've seen Bermuda grass growing on oil slicks, and they've grown into the oil slick 20 feet. What do you do with this after you collect some? Kick it over to the other side. We run down to the second rain garden, and you can see it down at the end of the ditch here before we hit the pond. And again, the big problem here is, yes, it looks a little rough now. We just finished planting this in April, right there. It hasn't had a chance to establish itself. The first year I built a rain garden over at the MTSU campus, I had to water it. But you can see everything's labeled in here. We've got a whole bunch of stuff labeled.
What types of plants do you have? Just some examples here right before us.
There's some irises, there's some echinacea, there's some bluegrass right there.
And would that be typical of a rain garden?
Native plants, yeah.
Okay, native plants.
Native plants.
Now, who did you say constructed this? Was it the
Rutherford County Master Gardeners.
Okay, and the site that we're officially on
is the Lane Extension Center.
Okay. And so you said this treats a couple of acres of impervious parking that's behind us.
2
here.
acres of
Okay.
impervious parking there. Now, because it's on the cheap side, it takes time to work. We've got a big percolation area in here for water to soak in rather than to run off down the hill to the next retention area.
What if residents wanted to do something similar to this, say off of downspouts? Would that be possible, or is that just
that would be possible either as a rain garden or a rain barrel, but it wouldn't be this big.
Yeah,
it would not be this big.
Okay. What partners did you have for this project?
There's about 25 master gardeners.
25 master gardeners, okay.
And one, Ophelia, was the bobcat operator.
Okay.
She brought in her bobcat to help landscape this. The estimate is, if you're going to talk about your house, it probably takes 1 weekend, a Saturday and Sunday to do it. Right there, but it's not going to be this big or this deep or have this many rock berms in it.
Could you describe, you mentioned the depth of it, could you describe what the depth of it and what the layers are underneath the surface?
Well, you've got the mulch there on top, and then you've got the topsoil going into this red subsoil, which you see here. Now the problem is, will it grow? And the problem is, you see a lot of weeds are volunteering in this now. The main thing is you got to get plants growing in here, and the trouble is June, July, and August usually around here. What happens? The water turns off.
Where did you get funding for this?
We got money from the Stones River Watershed Association and the Rutherford County Soil Conservation District.
Rutherford County Soil Conservation District. Okay. So, Dr. Anderson, you're a Stones River Watershed Association board member. How long have you been serving with the association?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. So you're a soil science professor, is that?
Soil water conservation.
Soil water conservation. At MTSU for 38 years. That's
yep.
And your education, where'd you go to school?
University of Nebraska, University of Illinois.
Yeah. So what's going on here?
Cardboard.
Cardboard. What's the cardboard used for?
Weed control.
Weed control, all right.
This is a sumac, is it?
Is that an indigo bush?
Indigo.
And then down here we have a head wall, so another drainage catchment coming in, and so there's an additional rain garden down here to help with that, correct?
There's one down here. It's not really an official rain garden.
Okay. Now say that one more time. So we're looking back up at the rain garden, the first one.
The first one.
And you were saying we've dropped in
A
elevation.
couple of feet.
What else is going on just real briefly up here?
We have a compost bins here demonstrating recycling. We've got a butterfly garden. We've got an herb garden right here. We've got a vegetable garden over here. On that, we've got blueberries growing on there. Now, eventually, this area will have to be refined, so to speak. Right now, it looks a little rough, and it is. And you can see where the water runs. Right there. And it looks like a lot of it's going to be Louisiana iris growing in here. Now, this is here because what we're trying to do is stop this ditch from forming and running down here. So we took a lot of rock was put in here to load this up, to keep this from cutting. We'll try to put the rock here and some vegetation. But the reason this isn't mowed is why? Because you're running over rock. And if the rock wasn't here, we cut a 3-foot deep gully.